our movie night review, we are going to be talking about Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, which we are not actually finished watching yet.
Yeah, we are watching in theaters.
Okay, that's true. When they were all little.
No, those two were little.
I remember watching it.
Because Bella was about 16 months old.
No, Bella was not.
Yeah,
No.
I remember watching it.
If she was 16 months old, Leia wouldn't have been born.
What was it?
Yeah. Lump
Yeah,
wasn't alive.
it came out in May when I worked at Walmart. So May of
Okay.
2007.
Correction. We took 2 of them to see it.
No, she was 28 months old.
Because I remember actually watching the movie.
Yeah.
She got terrified at the end. So that's our disclaimer.
It's a little creepy in the end. But.
Okay, synopsis. Indiana Jones is getting old. It's now 1950 something approximately. Height of the Cold War. Everything's going on and starts with them testing a nuke.
Which is awesome.
In New Mexico. We've been there. The little town did fall down. I don't know where the refrigerator went, but that'd be pretty awesome. And so they have that, and I won't tell you what else happens, but it's fun. Ends up with irradiation and a whole lot of scrubbing, which is fun. And we want to be scrubbed like that.
No.
Mine's are basic.
Kinda, yeah.
Okay, so they find this crystal skull and they think it's a treasure and they can't tell what's in it or anything else, and it's magnetic. And so they go to South America looking for other ones and find clues that there are more of them lost out in the jungle someplace. And so eventually they go to try and find his friend, who's played by Professor Lupin from Harry Potter.
Harry Potter.
Harry Potter. And his friend is now kind of insane, and they don't know why. And when they find him, he's with some of his other friends that are triple agents. And find him, and suddenly he gets his hands on the skull and starts talking fluently and, normal again. He's not insane entirely, just the skull makes him a bit wacky. And so eventually you find out that they're being chased by Russians, and the Russians attack some base in North America, which is actually supposed to be Area 51. That's where the Ark was at and stuff, and he steals over there earlier in the movie. But they're chasing him through the jungle, and they're giant ants that eat people, which is pretty awesome. So I don't let little kids watch the giant ants eat people.
Yeah.
Oh, that's pretty awesome. And they kill some cars and crash things and blow stuff up, which an Indiana Jones movie is supposed to. And eventually you find out at the end that it's actually an alien, and it's his head. And someone stole it. And when you get the alien's head back together, the alien can come back into one person because he can split into 13 parts, which I'd do that if I was an alien. And the alien flies away with his UFO and everyone's happy, except for the people that are dead because we killed them. But they're Russian, so it's a really good problem.
That's awful.
It's the Cold War. You're supposed to kill the Russians
I
during the
thought she
Cold War.
was Ukrainian. Russian.
Yeah, she's
Tommy,
very
who
much
cares?
Russian.
It's actually Kate Blanchett, who's not, but it works.
Yeah.
Okay, so what do you guys think about the movie?
I really like this movie. I find the crystal skulls to be quite interesting.
Why?
Well, they're not magnetic, but they act as magnet to things like gold, which is not magnetic. And so the idea of how it works, and also that it's one alien that's like 13 different bodies, is pretty interesting.
And
So
confusing.
it's anti-magnetic.
Yeah, I guess.
It also says that it's supposed to be made out of quartz. And
Mhm.
crystal. It goes back and forth.
Quartz is a
Quartz
crystal.
is a crystal.
Then you realize it's
It's a specific type of crystal.
Vernacular, yes.
Okay, so for the record, there actually are crystal skulls like this that exist around the world, and we don't know how they're made.
Or what their purpose is.
Some of them look like regular human skulls, some look much more elongated like the one movie.
Yeah.
But they
Sadly,
do actually exist.
sadly, I don't think they're actually from aliens.
They could be.
They're probably from aliens from other countries.
Well, outer space aliens. How's that?
Worf is attacking.
Economic
Would
threat.
just be
Means eating worms, sorry.
humans from the future.
Okay, what do you think, Lenny?
Like the movie for the most part, but there are some things that are different. Like Why would she not tell him about their son?
Well, that's pretty normal actually. So
So that is a good point. That's probably a negative for the movie in a sense.
well, not two negatives yet.
Okay,
Family jumping ahead, so
No,
she might say
it's
it.
fine.
Okay, fine, either way. Okay, Bella, what you tell us about what you think of the movie?
I think the movie's amazing. That's because it was the first Indiana Jones movie I ever saw when it actually came out.
Okay.
It's the only one you ever saw when it actually came out.
That's what I said.
We'll watch Dial of Destiny in June when it comes out.
Yeah.
Why didn't they use
probably.
a time machine? like
Okay.
others?
What do you think, Mela?
That'd be amazing for now.
I think I was kind of geeking out when I heard that this film was coming out, and I remember just being ecstatic and hoping that it wasn't too much like the Temple of Doom, because I didn't like that one. And I think it was good overall. I remember discussing it afterwards, and we enjoyed it. So I don't know. There are definitely some parts, even as you guys are describing the scenes or the parts of the movie, I'm picturing the Lego game in my head.
With
So
the giant ants eating Lego guys.
yeah.
His
So
head pops
and
up.
hearing the sound when they break apart, like
Yeah.
yeah.
That's because the Lego game is amazing. Just
Yes,
like
it
the
is.
movie.
Well, overall, it was just a good year for movies because you had that and they had Transformers and
Mhm.
several others that were right in a row.
Yeah.
Wasn't very good for our budget, but it was good for watching movies. So I would say this is without a doubt the best of the four mainstream Indiana Jones movies that have been released at this point. I've seen a lot of reviews that I looked up actually earlier today about it where people are complaining. And it's the same thing as people complaining about episodes 1, 2, and 3 of Star Wars. You need to get over the fact that the other ones came out decades ago. They do get better than the first 3. Just reality.
There are always pros and cons, and I think sometimes people just feel like they have to decide if they like this one the most or that one the most, and they don't realize that they can kind of like both. It doesn't have to be mutually exclusive.
My point is that special effects are really important for how believable and how much a movie moves forward with a storyline.
Especially when it's a sci-fi.
Especially then.
So obviously we're not talking about Star Wars explicitly right now, but we're talking about it because we're on it as well. And so obviously A New Hope was an amazing movie at the time. It has some very glaring issues with the storytelling that were fixed in the later movies, not episodes 5 and 6, in episodes 1, 2, and 3. And people that hate the first trilogy, and my first trilogy is in 1, 2, and 3, not 4, 5, 6, they're looking at it as, it's the Holy Grail, we must respect it. No, they're what they were for the 80s and late 70s, and movie making's gone a lot better since then. And just because I don't like how the storyline went for 7, 8, and 9, it doesn't mean they weren't great movies as how they're made. It just was a poor choice in what they did with the storyline.
Like in Tron as well. Those special effects are there.
But no one says
Yeah.
the original Tron is the most amazing movie.
That's true.
That's not true. I have heard people say that, but
People that were alive in like the 40s, yeah.
I'm curious what they're gonna do for the third one.
We're not talking about Tron right now. Get back to Indiana Jones.
So
On Indiana Jones.
similarly,
Ignoring Tron.
if you compare the special effects in Indiana Jones to in Kingdom of the Crystal Skull to I don't know, the scene
Last
in
Crusade.
The Last Crusade.
The
Well-
Rock is not realistic.
Yeah, everything is much more believable in Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. Even the scene where this is in is it The Last Crusade? The Ark?
That's
Raiders of the Lost
Raiders
Ark.
of the Lost Ark. There you go. Where they melt. I'm sure you know what I'm
that
talking
was
about.
amazing.
But that
It was amazing back in 1981, yes.
looks very different compared to the way that things happen at the end of Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, where similar type
Well,
events occur.
it looks realistic when she explodes and starts on fire, but
It's gross.
at the end of Raiders of the Lost Ark, it's like, why is Casper flying over the screen with the sheep?
Yeah.
I mean, it was what there was at that time, so that makes sense. But it's progressed and the whole genre of movie making has changed from then. Like, you have soundtracks now to movies. That's a big help. And there weren't really soundtracks for most movies throughout the whole thing. They weren't scored entirely back in the 70s and 80s. Like if you watch Popeye, it doesn't have a score for the entire movie and it's really boring.
Robin Williams did a great job playing Popeye, but the movie is really, it drags.
It's boring. It needs music. If they scored it and re-released it with the score on it, it'd probably be a much better movie. And so the same thing with this one is that the movie was a very, very, very well done. Just people don't like it because it's not the original one. He got old. Get over it.
Well, I appreciate that they acknowledge it rather than try and CG him into young Indiana Jones on another adventure. Because
Well, they're going to in the next one, actually. But that's because it has a flashback to being younger
that's different. A flashback is different than
than the whole movie is.
yeah.
It's kind of like going back to Lenny's Tron, is that you have Clue, who's obviously a much younger version of Jeff Bridges. And they did a good job with it, even though some people complain that it looks horrible. Well, watch it on a standard definition TV, you won't be concerned about it.
Well, and he's supposed to look kind of
He's a computer program.
digital. He's supposed to look a little fake because he is digital. The character is. So anyway, Indiana.
Okay, back to this movie, I guess. So for the bad things in this movie, if you are a little person like Bella was when we watched it in theaters,
There was
she
a lot
screamed a
of
few
this.
times, which
Oh yeah.
it was pretty funny because there were a lot of kids screaming in there. There were a few adults that were screaming in there too, so it evens out. But you have giant ants eating people, which
Is awesome.
they might develop a phobia about ants because of this part, which I did the
Yeah.
same thing with arachnophobia as a kid, so I understand that one.
Don't watch that movie.
But there's lots of giant ants that eat people, okay? There's people that obviously drown in the water at one point. Okay, so you'd be scared of water. And then there's the least likely thing, which is, the multi-dimensional traveler, which technically is not an alien. He's a multi-dimensional traveler that changes dimensions. And he obviously kills bad guys at the end and then takes off in his UFO. So,
I still kind of feel like that's kind of an alien. He's not of this
Yeah.
planet.
well, it technically is from this planet, he's just from a different dimension.
So he's
So
still an
he's a
alien.
multi-dimensional traveler. That's what Professor Lupin says. And so
Whatever.
that could cause some nightmares for little kids or people that are very impressionable and think aliens are going to attack them in their sleep. Which, if you've been watching the news, then there are a lot of people in Congress that think that right now. So I think you're good.
Good company.
Well, I'm not saying good company to do such a good cause to be scared of it, because you should be scared of Congress.
Anyway, so girls, what was your least favorite? I'm sorry.
We're not talking about
That's
pets.
where you were at.
No. What about language? What language is in the movie?
I think it's pretty much the same as what was in the past 3 movies.
I think it's a little better than.
Yeah, I was gonna say, or maybe a little bit less language.
Yeah.
Sometimes. I mean, obviously, they still say God's name in vain.
Okay.
And cuss a few times, but
Okay, what other negatives are there in this movie? I can think of 2 major ones.
Well, there's the obvious Mutt, who is Indiana Jones and Miriam's son.
That's a spoiler.
Sorry.
And he left.
This earlier.
We did mention that earlier.
Anyway,
He's in there.
Well, clearly it's a negative that Indiana Jones left. He didn't know he had a son, and she never told him.
technically, that it's not necessarily his fault that he doesn't know. He was never told.
Okay, so ignoring what happened in previous movies that we're not talking about this one. Obviously, Mutt is a juvenile delinquent. So there's the big issue with Mutt. He's a greaser. And it's really funny that he sticks his comb into a guy's coat in one part in the movie.
and then
And slicks his hair back. But
Well, yeah.
that makes your hair really sticky.
And kind of gross.
So that would be an issue, that if you're looking to him as a role model,
Not a good choice.
And then the other one I'd be concerned about is when they're in the crypt scene near the beginning of the movie.
Yes.
There's a lot of centipedes and stuff, and that's just,
Scorpion.
Well,
that's
there's
nasty. Bugs are bad.
they capitalize on the creepiness of being in a crypt and
And a graveyard.
the graveyard and
And little short people that are hiding
that are like,
with blowguns.
yeah,
With poison
Yeah.
darts.
it's
Blowguns are fun,
creepy.
And creepy masks.
Yeah.
So be prepared to be creeped out a little bit if you watch this one, especially with
Yeah.
younger kids. Okay, now favorite parts. Starting way over there.
Leia.
My favorite part would be the scene where he is hiding in this town where they're testing a nuke. He ends up hiding in a fridge, and he goes for a bit of a joyride. And that would be my favorite part.
So why was he hiding in the fridge?
So that he wouldn't die.
But why would that work?
Because it protects
It
him.
blocks their radiation.
Yeah.
How?
Because it's insulated and it's designed to keep stuff inside and not let other stuff in. It's not designed not to let the heat get into the fridge. It's designed to keep it cold. It's designed to.
Well,
Okay, the fridge was lead lined. That's why it
lead
would
lines.
block it.
So, yep, lead blocks radiation.
Lead is a very good insulator and happens to also poison you when you ingest it. So
Yeah.
that's why we don't use it in fridges now.
Yeah.
A good thought. What's your thought about favorite place, Lenny?
Favorite point? You were saying it earlier. Snake.
Well,
Wrath
actually,
of
that's not my favorite part. I was reminding Daddy about this giant snake. But my favorite part is when they're driving the motorcycle around.
Okay, the chase scene in the on the motorcycle. Okay. How about you, Bella?
I'd have to say either when he's in the fridge hiding or when they start this massive fight between the greasers and all the jocks in the soda shop.
That is funny.
Because that's highly entertaining.
I think my favorite part was when they got to Area 51, to the big warehouse, and that whole scene of
The single file line. And they shoot the guards.
yeah, trying to escape, and like that's when you get that little snippet that the Ark is there, and you have all these like, I don't know, it's very Indiana Jones, the sort of action
Chaos.
scene that ensues, and I appreciate that. So
And they break a lot of stuff.
they break a lot of stuff, and
And they stuffed them in the trunk.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
Who hasn't been
effective.
stuffed in the trunk recently?
I haven't been.
We can fix that.
I know you can. I don't want to.
actually we can't. We don't have a trunk in either of our vehicles.
We have a bed.
We can find one.
Yeah.
Does it count that I was in the bed of the truck starting to
No, that doesn't count.
then?
What's your favorite point? All right, you said
Yeah.
Area 51.
Area 51.
Okay, so my favorite part would be when you realize that the giant temple in South America is actually a UFO. And that's why it can move around inside itself, is because it's starting to take off, and that's how it flies. And of course, it just killed the Russians, and that's pretty cool too.
Obviously, just a caveat, we have nothing against anyone from Russia who is Russian or speaks Russian or anything else. That is a part of that time period that they're kind of taking from, just like in
Called
previous ones
McCarthyism.
that previous Indiana Jones films, they
We're anti-Nazi.
showed the Nazis in the villain role, which I would say they were anyway. And this one kind of shows the way that
The KGB.
people in the U.S. in the 50s would have looked at Russians.
Because they're commies.
So
Makes me wonder if they're going to have hippies in the new one. It takes place in the 60s.
yeah,
That'd be-
1968, I believe.
probably.
I guess we'll have to wait
Yep.
and see.
Isn't,
We'll find out.
yeah. Anyhow, I guess we'll see.
Also, there's like a pattern because in the first one and in the third one, it's biblical relics, and in the second and the fourth one, it's secular relics.
So maybe this is a
Yes, the
biblical relic they're
Dog of
after.
Destiny is definitely from the Bible. And so is the treasure of Atlantis.
I was just gonna say, I wonder if that has something to do with Atlantis.
came out in the early 90s.
Of the 4 that I have seen.
Okay, so what would you guys say for the rating for this movie?
I would say 4 out of 5 stars.
Well, age.
Oh,
What age rating?
rating. I would probably say 9 or older.
Okay.
7.
If you're gonna watch it with a 2-year-old, be prepared to cover their eyes a lot.
A 2-year-old probably would, and again, every child's gonna be different. Sometimes 2-year-olds do actually sit and like watch and pay attention, but oftentimes they lose interest and they're like, meh, you know, they wanna go play with something or go eat something or
Break
go
something.
sleep. They don't always have the patience and attention span to
Watch something.
watch something on TV. So
Well, I stood on my knees and was holding onto the seat in front of us, jumping up and down during the whole movie, so she was excited about it.
That's because it was amazing.
I don't want her to do that now.
Yeah, I would break your knees.
oh, that's funny.
So what do you say for rating? Age-wise, before we go back to
I
one
think
minute.
again like 8 to 10 with, you know, parental guidance and just cover their eyes or, you know, fast forward past the scene where they're being eaten by giant ants. I don't know. I think by 10
That's awesome.
they should be able to handle
Yeah.
most of it. Just fine.
I'd say if you let them watch the first 3, they're good to watch this one. So
Yeah.
go from judgment on the first 3 and you're good on this one. Just don't watch this one first because then you'll be confused.
Very
Yeah.
confused.
I mean, each movie does stand alone, but there's context to the characters that carry through all of them that are poignant and
The backstories can be helpful for each character.
Well, like it references that Marcus Brody and his dad both died in this one. You go, who were they?
yeah.
You see a picture of Sean Connery on his desk, and it's, wait a second, who's this?
And
If you haven't watched the previous movie, you're not gonna know.
Obviously, it's James Bond.
If
All right.
Wrong movie's yours.
Okay, Lump rates at 4 out of 5 somethings. What do you say, Lenny?
5 out of 5.
Bella.
Probably a 5.
7 out of 5.
I was gonna say a 5.
We've got aliens,
I
multi-dimensional travelers.
really did appreciate
Aliens.
That it came out.
this film, the way that they brought in older characters that you hadn't seen in a while and made it a realistic storyline and the action sequences, and they just kind of touched on a lot of things that were kind of nostalgic if you had seen the previous films, and it was entertaining, it was interesting, it had action, it was funny.
It had a whip.
Yeah.
We need more whips in movies.
Agreed.
Apparently, do you want to share that little tidbit?
You're mentioning it. You can do it.
Okay, but I don't know exactly.
That's confusing.
Go ahead.
Okay, so when they were filming the movie, the executives at the movie studio at Paramount said that his whip needed to be CG'd in because it was dangerous with new movie set rules in. Harrison Ford said that's ridiculous and brought the whip anyway. So he really does have the whip,
Yeah,
even though he was told not to.
yeah,
So he better have the whip in the new one.
yeah.
We'll all be disappointed if there's not a whip in the
We'll
next
boycott
one.
it if there's no whip.
Mm,
They better have the whip. The whip is what makes Indiana Jones Indiana Jones.
And the hat.
Just saying.
Concealment service.
I think it's the hat more than the whip.
It's
The
the
whip
whip.
is
It's
iconic.
both.
You really gotta have both.
You
Okay,
have to have both.
don't answer this question, you guys. If you all know the answer to this, let us know in the comments below. What Star Wars film was he wearing the whip in? Because they were filming simultaneously on different sound stages. So there's at least one scene where you can clearly see the whip on Han Solo's belt.
You can also see his vest.
Yeah. So
And he has the hat under his other hat that he's wearing. See?
let us know what you think it is in the comments. And
Also,
Yes.
during the chase scene in this one, they have a statue of Marcus Brody at the college.
Mhm.
And there were scenes drive into it, and his head falls into the car.
Yeah.
The driver.
Yeah, it shatters the windshield.
I'm curious how his head fell off, but that's
Hey,
the way it goes.
Yeah.
magic. It wasn't very well attached. Or Lupin, use magic. Whatever.
It's a possibility.
Close this out.
Okay, watch the movie. It's a good movie. Next week we'll be on something else because
Yeah.
we don't have Indiana Jones 5 yet.
Unfortunately.
I don't know, we might go see that in theaters and review it.
But it's
That-
not until June.
Yeah, that's in June, so we'll see.
Yeah.
Alright, thanks for watching. Let us know your thoughts, your favorite characters, your favorite scenes, and yeah, we'll talk to you all soon. Thanks.